So the lab today we're going to be focusing on is called Metasploit Tutorial for Beginners. This is just let's start poking around with Metasploit just to see exactly what we can do. So for my CEH lab environment, I have my two attacking machines, the Windows 7 attacker, Kali, and then I have some target vulnerable machines. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my Kali. I'm going to be logging in as root and logging in with our appropriate password. Again, you already see the machines that I have, so I'm going to go ahead and maximize my screen so I have the most working space to work with. Make it a little bit easier for me. So the first thing I want to do is I want to find out how I can open up Metasploitable. I don't want my toolbar to pin up the top. So we can launch it through Applications, and then we can search through here. Oh, underneath Favorites, you'll see Metasploitable Framework. It's already there. And it is setting up our framework for us. And here is Metasploitable. If we did not want to do it that way, I'm going to go and exit out. We can always open up just a regular console, MSF console. That will also start Metasploitable Framework. And here we go. We can see that there are 1,400 exploits, 840 auxiliaries, 232 posts, 432 payloads, and so forth. Okay, so our first command is, let's look at some of our help. So we can type help show. And that way we can see a help for our show. Valid parameter for the show commands are, because help, and then the command that we're looking for help, show, and it could be all encoders, notes, exploits, payload, auxiliaries. So we can do a few things. I want to see what I can search for. So I want to do help search, and that should give me my key areas or my help for search. And here we go. We can look through, search through different modules, matching these criteria. So now that we have some basic commands, how do we run a scan? We've already talked about running scans before, but now let's go ahead and see if we can do it from memory. We want to do database, and what does the V and SV stand for? So the V gives us verbose output, and the hyphen lowercase s v gives us service version detection. And we're going to go ahead and scan our network. Oh, it does not like that. 192.168.10.0, and we're doing /24 because you can tell it to scan an individual host or a network with subnet mask. So I'm going to have it scan our network. There are several machines powering on, because again, you've already seen my attack list. I have my DHCP set between 100 and 200. So I'm going to assume here we go from 99 to 109. So 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 5, 6, 7, 8 are all hosts that are up. And here they are, and they're responding to specific ports. So those can show us our target machines. And this is not quite done scanning, so I'm going to let it sit for a minute and let it scan. So it took some time, but it finally finished scanning. So I wanted to be able to see my hosts. And it did not like, oh, that's good, I fat fingered it, and it should be hosts. That way I could see what hosts were populated and what their purposes were. But you notice OS is not there. So I actually want to rescan the network. But I'm going to add in an O, capital O, because I want to see what operating systems are available in my network. I'm going to pause it because this does take several minutes. So the scan took about 5 minutes, but Nmap did start finding some of our hosts. So I'm going to go ahead and double check to see what hosts they came up with. See if we can find the appropriate version. So it's showing that we have a few servers. Even though we know one of these is server 2012, it's detecting one of them is 2008. We have 2 Windows 7. We have our Metasploitable. And then we have a Windows XP machine. So, I mean, this isn't the most reliable, but this can at least get us part of the way there. But aren't we missing one? Aren't we missing... Actually, what are we missing? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. 7 possible hosts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it actually only found 5 of our 7 target machines, and there's still our Windows 7 attacker, which is still one of the machines it should be finding. So we have to keep that in mind. Metasploit is not perfect, or Nmap itself is not perfect. So let's go ahead and let's do some looking for port scanners. So search port scan. We do this so that we could see what port scanners or what scanners we have available. Kind of their ranking and some of their description. And here we go. We can see there are some very specific port scanners. So now that we have a good idea of port scan, hosts, we need to make sure that we add our hosts to our list of remote targets that we can then target. So what we do is we do hosts hyphen capital R, and that copies it to our list. That way, when we go to target a machine, we have a list of current machines that we know about. So let's go and look for a specific exploit. We're going to be searching type exploit. But there's so many. How do we narrow that down? These are all different exploits for different items. The description gives you a general idea of what it's used for. Then there's a date and a ranking system. That's way too many for me. So, I want to specifically search for maybe common vulnerability for 2014. That will list just the exploits that came out in 2014. I want to do it again but for 2015. Again, not perfect because I still am getting some 14 dates in here, but this is narrowing it down to most of my 2015 dates. So let's try one more. I want to do this by name though. I know I have a WordPress website, so I want to target WordPress. And here in our description, our name, which is specifically WordPress, it pulls up just items for WordPress. So that way we can kind of see what attacks that we do have. So now we have to think about what system and what exploit to use. Alright, so for me, I want to use an exploit. And you have to give it the path to the exploit. That's what this guy is right here. So path. Oh, sorry, I'm doing the wrong path. It's going to be stored in Unix, in web app, PHP, WordPress, total, cache, and that is the exploit that I want to use. If you get a failed to load, that means the appropriate item is not working for us. Okay, so I was just making sure I did not fat finger the command. You know what? I want to search for a new exploit for Windows 7. Since we know we have a bunch of Windows 7 machines, why don't I look for one specific to Windows? So I want to see which one. So you just kind of go through the description to see what you can do. I want a simple one. Oh, now we're back into our exploits. I'm gonna keep looking. There's so many exploits to pick from, so sometimes it's not always very simple. Okay, so I found one. I want to do the exploit for Apple iTunes 4.7 playlist. It's a buffer overflow. So instead of trying to type all of it out, I'm just going to copy it. So I'm going to use the use command. I'm going to paste the exploit that I want. Notice the prompt changes. That means we're using that exploit. From here forward, this is going to be slightly different depending on the appropriate exploit that you use, but options are going to be different depending. Here we have the options that need to be set, if they're required or not. So we got to keep that in mind. So just to reiterate that, I'm going to go ahead and exit. Here I'm actually going to look at another exploit. Oh, those are all posts. I'm going to copy it. I want to use. So you'll see that the prompt is now we're using that exploit. And we do show options. It's going to show different set of options because these options are reliant on the exploit that you're using. Here, our host is remote host, L host is local host. So we're going to set our host is equal to and target one of our machines. You know what? Let's assume we don't remember. I keep typing exit and it keeps kicking me out of Metasploit. Okay, so we're going to run our exploit, which remote host is equal to, and pick one of our guys. I'm going to go ahead and pick 192.168.10.101, which is Metasploitable. Oh, set our host equals, I cannot type today. Oh, we are using Kali 2, so you do not have to use equal signs. Every version of Kali is slightly different, so every version of Kali is sometimes different, so you have to be careful of that. Previous labs, our host, you had to use equals and then assign an IP address. So let's look at our options again. Here we can see that we set our remote host to that guy. So let's go ahead and run our exploit. It didn't quite work, but I mean, we just kind of picked one. We could also type in the word exploit. So not every exploit is going to work on every system, but a big part of this is playing with the exploits to figure out which one would work. So that didn't quite work, so we're going to go ahead and back out. So I want to try one more just to make sure. Since we know we have Metasploitable, I want to see if I can do a exploit for that. And I happen to know that this is at one exploit that does target Metasploitable. I want to show the options to see what's there. So here we have to set the remote hosts. So that's the importance of understanding the IP addresses, because you have to know what addresses to be setting. Metasploitable should be 101. And we're going to run it. That should allow us to exploit Metasploitable. And it quite didn't like that, but at least we got a little bit further. Again, that's kind of what we have to do, is slowly move forward, seeing which exploits work. So, again, part of this is just getting used to going in, console, and getting used to what exploits kind of target what system. I want to try one more exploit just to see if we can exploit it. Use exploit Unix IRC Unreal IRC D 3281. I know this exploit used to work in earlier versions of Metasploit. Oh, also helps if you don't fat finger it by adding in 2 slashes. So that loaded our exploit. Let's look at the options for that exploit. Show options. And here we have to make sure we give it a remote host. So set our host to our Linux machine. And let's run our exploit. And it happens to be that we are in. We have a command shell session open. So we can do things like list an ls so we can see what's there. But this is our Metasploitable. So that was kind of it for this lab. I just wanted to show you that not every exploit is going to work. Sometimes you have to play around with the exploits to see which one is going to work. So I wanted to thank you guys and hope you guys have a great day.